Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is a new chapter called Neoplasia. Okay. So neo means new, plasia means growth. In other words, we are going to talk about tumors. So before going to the tumors, let's see how the tissues came from the germ layers. So you all know zygote. From the zygote, you all know zygote is a totipotent stem cell. It's a totipotent stem cell. So from the zygote we have three germ layers. One is ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. So in a tissue we have epithelium and the supporting structure. The epithelium comes from these two layers, and if it comes from the ectoderm, it is of squamous epithelium. Squamous epithelium, and glandular and other types of epithelium comes from the endoderm. Glandular epithelium comes from the endoderm. So let's take an example of skin, and you all know the skin has basement membrane. Okay, there is a basement membrane, and in the just above the basement membrane the basal cells are arranged, and that is called basal layer. And the basal cells has a capacity to divide, so they have a very large nucleus. They have a large nucleus. They have a large nucleus, and they all divide and they form another group of cells called spinocell cells. They have a little bit smaller nucleus compared to the basal cells, and then they form granulosa cells. Granulosa cells, when they mature, they are the maturing cells, and finally they form corneal cells. Corneal cell is the matured cells, and they have small dot like nucleus, and then they die and they form the keratin. They completely degenerate and they form the keratin. So this epithelium derives from the ectoderm. So this is the principal cells of the skin. So it is called parenchyma. It is called parenchyma. So parenchyma means epithelium. So it is a principal cells of the tissue. Which, what do you mean by principal cells? That cells determine the function of the tissue. That cells determine the function of the tissue. That is called parenchyma. And the skin needs the, so this is called, this epithelium is called keratinizing stratified squamous epithelium, and it is called epidermis. It is called epidermis, and epidermis has other structures, but now you understand about the stratified squamous epithelium, keratinizing stratified squamous epithelium. Below the epidermis we have dermis. And this dermis gives supportive structures to the epidermis. So they have blood vessels, and they have fibroblast, they produce collagen, okay, and the connective tissue, and even the basement membrane, and even the basement membrane. This is basement membrane. So these supportive structures all come from the supportive structures come from the mesoderm. The supportive structures come from the mesoderm. So blood vessels, fibrous tissue, even muscle, bone, cartilage. Okay, these are the tissues comes from the mesoderm, and blood cells. So there are many tissues come from the mesoderm. So they are the supportive structures. They gives a supportive structure to the epithelium. So they are called mesenchyma. They are called mesenchyma. So some they call mesenchyma as a stroma. So parenchyma means epithelium. So mesenchyma are the supportive structures to the epithelium. So they are called stroma. So you should understand this basic terminologies, parenchyma and mesenchyma. If you take any tissue, they have parenchymous component and mesenchymous component. If you take a liver and they have liver cells, so the liver cells are the parenchymal component. And the blood supply, the blood connected tissues in the liver, blood vessels, connected tissues, macrophage, all in this liver, they are called mesenchymal component. Mesenchymal component. So if you take any tissue, for example, if you take pancreatic tissue, the pancreatic epithelial cells, glanding secretory cells of the pancreas, they all comes under the parenchyma, because that determines the function of the pancreas. And the supportive structures like blood supply to the pancreas, these are all the mesenchymal structures of the pancreas. So because they are the basically supporting structures. So this is the basic explanation about parenchyma and mesenchyma. So and if you take a tumor, the tumor also contains two components, parenchyma and mesenchyma. So parenchyma is the tumor cells, mesenchyma is the supportive structures for the tumor cells. Supportive structures for tumor cells, because the tumor cells also need blood supply to grow. So that's why they also get supportive structure. So that's why they are called mesenchyma. So the tumor also has two components, parenchyma and mesenchyma. Parenchyma belongs to the tumor cells component, and mesenchyma means supportive structures to the tumor cells. So now the tumors are that is neoplasia are of two types. One is benign, other one is malignant. So in a colloquial way of telling, benign means non-cancerous. They are not cancerous. Non-cancerous tumors, and malignant means cancerous tumors. So benign tumors, if you see clinically, they are localized tumor. They are localized. Whereas malignant tumor, they are infiltrative tumors. Infiltrative means, for example, there is a tumor in the skin. This is the skin, and below the skin we have muscle, and we have bone. Okay, so if the tumor comes in the skin, it will be infiltrative, it will be invading, and it spreads, so that is infiltrative, and they also invade the muscle, bone. The tumor will invade the muscle and bone. So the malignant tumor are infiltrative, they are infiltrative, infiltrative, they are infiltrative tumors, and they are invasive tumors, they are infiltrative, infiltrative, invasive, because they invade the surrounding structure, and they are destructive, they destroy the surrounding structure. And this tumor, this is the primary area of the tumor, and then it spreads to the other organs. For example, it goes to the brain, it goes to the brain. It is called distant spreading, it is called distant spreading. So otherwise called as metastasis. When you come to the benign tumor, this is the skin, and you have a muscle, and we have a bone. If you see a benign tumor, it will be localized. You can see a localized tumor. It is not infiltrative. I think you can understand now. So it is not infiltrative. It remains in one area. It is focal. It is completely localized. So it is localized. It is a localized and non-invasive and non-destructive and no metastasis. So they will not spread to distant site. Okay, so this is the character of the benign tumor, basic character. Inshallah we will be seeing more in detail about benign and malignant tumor. So this is the introduction for the benign and malignant tumor. Okay, so what is, which tumor is easy for giving treatment? So benign tumor are removed easily by a small surgeries. It can be easily removed through surgery. Generally the patient survives and they will not affect the survival of the patient. And here, whereas in the malignant they need extensive surgery, and they need aggressive treatment like radiation and some chemical drugs we call chemotherapy, and the patient survivability is affected. So this is the thing we see in the malignant tumors. Okay. So this is a basic introduction about benign and malignant tumors. Now we are going to see about the terminologies, how they call the benign tumors and the malignant tumors. Now benign tumors can come from the epithelium, that is called parenchymal origin of benign tumors. So any benign tumor we represent by putting oma in the end. In the suffix we put oma. If it is from the epithelium, that is parenchyma, if it is from the epithelium, and it forms glandular structures, it is called adenoma. It is called adenoma. It is called adenoma. So adenoma means glands. It is called adenoma. So it is called as adenoma. So oma means benign. It is forming glands and it is from the epithelium. It is called adenoma. For example, this is a kidney and the person has a tumor and you are taking a biopsy from this tumor, and you took a biopsy from this tumor and you are seeing under the microscope, and this tumor are forming lot of glandular structure and it is benign. So how you call it as? Kidney means renal and it is from the epithelium, it is forming glandular structure and it is a benign. It is called renal adenoma. It is called renal adenoma. Now if the tumor is coming from the epithelium, for example it is a skin and it is forming a finger like projections, it is called papilloma. It is called papilloma and it is a benign. Or if the tumor is in the stomach and it is producing a finger like projection, okay, and we don't know whether it is benign or malignant, okay, and we call it as a polyp. We call it as a polyp. So we take a biopsy from the polyp and then we see whether it is a benign or malignant. So these are the basic terminologies. And if the tumor of mesenchymal origin, benign tumor of mesenchymal origin, then if it is of fibrous tissue, for example, it is of fibrous tissue, then we have to put oma, then we have to put fibro in the first. It is called fibroma. Likewise, if it is of osseous tissue, it is called osteoma. And if it is of cartilage, then we call it is as chondroma. Sometimes the tumor may be of parenchymal plus mesenchymal. So we call them as mixed tumors. So these mixed tumors, how to name them? Most commonly seen in the salivary gland and in the female breast. So if the female breast there is a tumor having glandular structure, so it is adenoma, plus fibrous structure, it is fibroma. So we call it as fibroadenoma. adenoma. So it is a mixed tumor. Whereas in the salivary gland, especially in the parotid gland, they have glandular structure plus bone plus cartilage like that. So they have multiple tissue, variation of tissue. So variation means it is called pleomorphism. Pleomorphic adenoma. Pleomorphic adenoma. So this is all mixed tumors. They have both benign, both parenchymal and mesenchymal components. So when we have parenchymal and mesenchymal components, we have to put both their names and we have to tell the tumor name. So there are some tumors they are not, they are given a name like a benign tumor, but they are not benign tumors. So they are called as misnomers. They are called as misnomers. So for example, there is a tumor called teratoma. So we all will think it is a benign tumor because it has oma in the end. Actually, this tumor comes from the totipotent stem cell. Totipotent stem cell, and this tumor could be benign or it could be malignant. So it is a misnomer. So the name looks like a benign, but it could be malignant. There are other tumors like for example melanoma, lymphoma, mesothelioma, seminoma. So these are the tumors as oma in the end. It looks like a benign in terminology, but they are highly cancerous tumor. Highly malignant tumors, very aggressive tumors they are generally. So they are given a wrong name. Now there are other group of disease, they are not tumors actually. Hamartoma, condition is called hamartoma. They look like a benign tumor, but they are not tumorous. They are a normal tissue placed in a wrong place. For example, there is a lung. So in the lung you have a cartilage. In the lung you have a cartilage. So cartilage is normal. The cartilage is normal and it is placed in the lung. So it is in abnormal place. So that is called hamartoma. This condition is called pulmonary chondroid hamartoma. Pulmonary chondroid hamartoma. So these are the some examples for misnomers. So now let us discuss about certain nomenclatures of malignant tumor. So the nomenclatures of malignant tumor, again the malignant tumor can come from the parenchymal origin. Origin, which means from epithelium. If the tumor comes from parenchymal origin, in the suffix we put the word carcinoma. We put the word carcinoma. If they form glandular structures, then we put the terminology as adenocarcinoma because it is a malignant tumor. Carcinoma. If they form malignant squamous epithelial cells, we call squamous cell carcinoma. If they are coming from mesenchymal origin, and we call the suffix as sarcoma, and if they form fibrous tissue, then it is called fibrosarcoma, or if they form osteocytes, origin of cell is from osteocytes is a bone forming cells, it is called bone cells, actually osteocytes are bone cells, it is called osteosarcoma. Likewise, it can keep on telling, if it is having chondrocytes, cartilage cells, it is chondrosarcoma. If they have muscle cells, from muscle cells it is called myosarcoma. If it has smooth muscle cells, it is called leiomyosarcoma. If it has skeletal muscle cells, it is called rhabdomyosarcoma. So these are the basic terminologies of the cancerous tumor. If it is of parenchymal origin, in the end we put carcinoma. If it is of mesenchymal origin, in the end we put sarcoma. So don't get confused, it is whole word is the suffix. So this is about the terminologies of the malignant tumors. Now let us discuss certain basic definition about a neoplasia. The neoplasia means it is a abnormal growth. First point you should understand is it is abnormal growth. Second is it will not match, it will not coordinated with the normal growth, which it is completely uncoordinated. And the stimuli which produced this abnormal growth, if the stimuli is stopped, or you are, for example, the person is smoking and he got this abnormal growth, and if he stops the smoking after the abnormal growth, the abnormal growth will continue, the abnormal growth will continue after cessation of the stimuli. After cessation of the stimuli, the growth continues, the growth continues. So this is the basic definition, basic principle of any tissue to call it as a neoplasia. So now let us see what are the characteristic feature of benign and malignant tumor. So I am going to discuss a terminology called differentiation. Differentiation means how much the cell, that is the tumor cell, resembles the parenchymal, normal parenchymal cells of the any tissue morphologically and functionally. So for example, this is the tumor cells in the tumor, and this is the normal cells. This is the tumor cells. If they resemble 100% morphologically and functionally, then we call well differentiated. Then we call well differentiated. If they resemble 100%, it is called well differentiated. So differentiation means how much they resemble the morphologically and functionally. If they resemble 100%, it is called well differentiated. It is called well differentiated. If they resemble 100%, it is called well differentiated. And benign tumors are most of the times they are well differentiated. Benign tumors are well differentiated. If the tumor cells are resembling only 50% like that of the normal cell. This is a normal cell, right? So if the tumor cells are resembling only 50% of the tumor is resembling the normal cell, then it is 50% is moderately differentiated. So likewise, if it is 25%, it is poorly differentiated. If 0% completely abnormal, completely no matching, it is undifferentiated. So undifferentiated tumor are called as anaplasia. Undifferentiated cells are called as anaplastic cells. Anaplasia means undifferentiation. Anaplasia means undifferentiation. So anaplastic tumors are malignant tumors but remember, malignant tumors may be well differentiated or moderately poor differentiated, but once they become anaplastic, they are most commonly they are highly malignant tumors, and anaplastic tumors are highly aggressive tumors and they spread fast, they invade fast, they destroy the surrounding tissues very fast because their growth is very fast. So they are called anaplastic tumors. So this is about differentiation and anaplasia. So let us discuss about another concept called dysplasia. Dysplasia. So dysplasia means disordered growth. So this mostly seen in epithelium. This is seen only in the epithelium. So I am going to draw an example called cervix epithelium to explain this concept. So you all know cervix, so I am drawing the cervix epithelium. Cervix epithelium is a non-keratinizing stratified squamous epithelium. So this is the basement membrane. This is the basement membrane, and I am going to draw the basal cells. So these are the basal cells. Then we have a group of cells. These basal cells divide and they form another group of cells, that is called intermediate cells. Then they form superficial cells. So the basal cells, as I said earlier, it has large nucleus when compared with the other cells because they are the dividing cells. Then they form intermediate cells. Intermediate cells have medium sized nucleus, and when they have medium sized nucleus, and when they become superficial cells, they become dot like nucleus. So this is superficial cells, and this is intermediate squamous cells, and this is basal cells. If it is infected by a human papilloma virus 16 and 18, what happens is this virus infect the basal cells and they increase the basal cells division, and the basal cells increase in number. If it is increasing one-third thickness, it is called metaplasia. It is called dysplasia, but it is only one third. It is called dysplasia. It is only one third, and it is called mild dysplasia. If it increases to two-third, it is called moderate dysplasia. If they increase to two-third, it is called moderate dysplasia. If it increases to complete thickness, it is called severe dysplasia. So when you can able to identify the tumor through, it's not a tumor, it's a lesion. If you are able to identify this lesion, okay, then if it is called early diagnosis, Now severe dysplasia, if they start having anaplastic cells, then they are called very large anaplastic cells, but they are not coming out of the basement membrane, they are within the basement membrane. This situation is called carcinoma in situ. But if they come out of the basement membrane, then it is invasion. This is invasion, which means it is becoming carcinoma. Once again I am telling, so this is the normal structure of the cervical epithelium, that is they have basal cells, intermediate cells, superficial cells. If the basal cells are increased 1/3 thickness, it is mild dysplasia. If they are increased 2/3 thickness, it is moderate dysplasia. If they are increased full thickness, it is severe dysplasia. And they started having anaplastic cells in the severe dysplasia, it is called carcinoma in situ because it is not coming out of the basement membrane. The basement membrane is intact. Basement membrane is intact. So when they come out of the, when the cells comes out of the basement membrane, then it is a invasion. It is a establishment of carcinoma. So this is all about dysplasia. Now let us see the morphology of anaplastic cells. See, the normal cells resemble each other. Normal cells resemble each other. They will not vary within themselves. But if it is a malignant cell, that is anaplastic cells, what they do is they will not look same between them. Okay, they vary in nucleus size and shape, and as well as cell size and shape, as well as cell size and shape. So this is called pleomorphism. Pleomorphism means variation in size and shape. So they have variation in size and shape in the nucleus and variation in size and shape in the cell. So it is called cellular and nuclear pleomorphism. It is the characteristic feature of anaplastic cells. Second, their nucleus cytoplasmic ratio is increased. The nucleus is becoming more and hyperchromatic. It is becoming 1:1, whereas in the normal cell, whereas this is abnormal cell, this is abnormal cell, that is anaplastic cell, the nucleus cytoplasmic ratio is increased 1:1, whereas in the normal cell the nucleus cytoplasmic ratio is 1:4, or it will be 1:6, 1:4 or 1:6, but in the anaplastic cell the nucleus cytoplasmic ratio is increased. This is called nucleus cytoplasmic ratio, which is increased, and the nucleus becoming dark and more hyperchromatic, that is called hyperchromatic. And because of they have more nuclear content, they go for abnormal mitosis. Abnormal mitosis means the cell divide into 3, 4, 5 like that. They normal cells have normal mitosis, they divide into 2 cells. And fourth point is the anaplastic cells lose their polarity, loss of polarity, that is the loss of cell being together is lost, and here they maintain the polarity. For example, the basal cells will be on the basal side, they will not go into the superficial side. So this is called polarity. So there will be loss of polarity in the anaplastic cells. Okay, so this is all about the morphological features of anaplastic cells. Now let us see about certain another characteristic features of benign and malignant tumor. And regarding the local invasion, the malignant tumors invade and destroy the surrounding structures. Who? Malignant tumors, and they are infiltrative, whereas in the benign tumors they form a capsule. So that capsule makes them too easy to remove and easy to fill the tumor, and they can be removed very easily. So this is the characteristic feature of benign tumor. Now coming to the metastasis, you all know metastasis means distant spreading. So they spread by three means. One, direct seeding. Direct seeding, which means, for example, there is a stomach cancer, and this stomach cancer involves all the wall of the stomach, and the cancer cells fall in the abdominal peritoneal cavity, and the cancer cells goes to all the organ in the abdomen, it spreads. So it is called direct seeding, otherwise called as pseudo myxoma peritonei. So another way of spreading is lymphatic spread. Lymphatic spread, and most of the carcinomas use lymphatic channels for spreading. And third one is spreading through the blood vessels, the hematogenous spread. So most of the sarcomas use this method. So this is all about metastasis. There are some tumors, in cancerous tumors, they rarely metastasis. One is glioma. Don't forget this, glioma, and basal cell carcinoma. Basal cell carcinoma, even though they are malignant tumors, they very rarely metastase. Okay, so they are better prognostic tumor, and inshallah that and all we will discuss more in the other modules. Now you should know glioma and basal cell carcinoma are very rarely metastasis. Okay, so this is all about metastasis. So this ends this lecture, and let's go to the slides. This is the part 1, and inshallah I will discuss the slides in the part 2.